Folks, could you imagine your name being gaslit all over the sports world, sports media, talking about you only, when really what should be at the top of the line, top of the sports news, is the fact that 4 other people who are also somewhat affiliated with a particular sports person have absconded with approximately $70 million. $70 million that should have gone to black people in need. Let me tell you something. Okay, I know some of you guys don't like the fact that I utilize the topics of race when I have my conversation. So what I'm going to do is I am not going to use any racial adjectives for the next 35 seconds. What I'm talking about is I am talking about a demographic of privilege utilizing their privilege, and an individual from a marginalized group, can I say it like that, being gaslit all over, because I said I'm not going to bring this brother's name up, and I won't. I'm not bringing his name up because you're gaslighting the man's name. Gaslit all over the internet, social media, mainstream media, sports media, because of relationship drama. Relationship drama. When there are people, about 35 seconds up yet? People from privileged demographics, I'll say it like that, because my seconds is almost up. White folks who are going around essentially illegally defrauding governments while we're here talking about somebody having a little sneaky link relationship. Let me tell you something. The stuff I got to tell you right now. Some of you have heard of it, but the slant that I'm about to put on it, I don't think you've heard it like this. So we know the culprits. A gentleman by the name of Phil Bryant, the governor of Mississippi. The governor at the time of Mississippi, the former governor currently. I believe his name is John Davis, the director of welfare in the state of Mississippi. And a young lady named Nancy New, I believe her name is. If I have these names wrong, correct me, because I don't try to put all this stuff into my head, really. I'm just like you. I look at the news. I don't report the news. I report my opinion. And then, of course, the man of the hour, who we are not talking about, who is not being gaslit all over the doggone world like other individuals, black people of color, Brett Favre. Brett Favre. Now, Brett Favre, to some extent, is being used as a scapegoat. To some extent, to a small extent, and I'll get to that. But he definitely has his day coming. But he's definitely being used as a scapegoat to some extent. But let's get going from right at the beginning. So what is taking place is that somehow, and I believe these two people are directly in bed. These two cousins, these two Mississippi cousins. I don't know if they're related, but they're acting like they're cousins. Nancy New and John Davis, the head of welfare, the director of welfare for the state of Mississippi, okay, at the time. And Nancy New, who had a foundation, a nonprofit, a funneling organization for illegal appropriated funds, right? That's what a lot of these folks are using nonprofits and charities for. So basically, they were absconding with millions of dollars that was targeted towards people on welfare. This man was in charge of welfare. And of course, the guy who has to be called out is the gentleman who is the governor, who, you know, you're the head of the team, so we can't leave you out, Mr. Governor Phil Bryant, although you're acting like you're not part of it. And how now Brett Favre comes into it. So apparently, Brett Favre is being given enticements to have speeches. Let's start with the speeches. So he's supposed to now utilize his platform for speeches. We don't know what kind of speeches, but the speeches don't get done. And he's apparently given an advance of $1 million, like $1.1 million for these speeches. Now, the word on the street is he's actually returned the money because the speeches have not been, they were not given. But the speech money came out of this welfare fund. Follow me, stay up, catch up. You're gonna have to replay this maybe, some of y'all. So this welfare fund is being used as a slush fund to basically move money all over the state of Mississippi for specific agendas. Now, Brett Favre's agenda is to utilize them for his pet projects. He has a couple of pet projects. Apparently he was trying to build a stadium, he's trying to build a volleyball court, various different sports initiatives that he essentially somehow, through Nancy New, was moving money coming from governmental welfare systems. Money that was supposed to be used for the poorest of the poor in the poorest state in America. In the poorest state in the South. We know who those people are who are in the poorest demographic of the poorest state in America. We know what they look like. We don't have any question as to who those people are. I don't have to look at statistics. I don't have to look at the census. I don't have to look that up to know that in Mississippi, it's an M word, I got caught up. Mississippi, the state of Mississippi, that who are the poor folk. Do I have to say it? I don't think you need me to say it, but I'm gonna say it because some of you might need me to say it. I believe that the majority of the demographic, because we know the statistics throughout America, are black people. A state that cannot, in its capital city, even bring clean water. We say water in Toronto. Water. You could not bring clean water. But you have somehow absconded away with $70 million. This is why now I think Brett Favre is a scapegoat. Because out of that $70 million, they're only talking to him maybe about $5 million of it. Maybe. And a lot of it didn't come directly to him. It went to his particular projects, right? So he has definitely an arm's reach excuse, plus monies that he returned. They're saying $200,000 of interest. Why would he have interest on money that was supposed to be given to him to speak? Why would he be paying interest on it? That doesn't make any sense to me. Why would the state be asking him to pay interest on money that they were supposed to pay him for speaking engagements that he hadn't spoken on? $200,000 of interest? That sounds fishy. That sounds very strange. I'm not going to touch it. Maybe I don't know what it is, but that sounds very strange. Additionally, Nancy New and her son have pled guilty. They've taken a plea deal, which most of the times is what happens, in order to cooperate with authorities. They've also indicted Mr. Davis, that old bandit. That's why I said they're cousins, because both of them, you can't move money out of the government into a slush fund foundation without somebody in government being at the wheel, right? Which is why they're dealing with the governor, because they're saying if anybody's at the wheel, it's you. But this gentleman, they charge him. They didn't waste no time. Nancy New, they came to lock her up, and the son too, because they're using state funds for their own personal slush fund. They're moving millions of dollars of money all over the place. There was an audit. The audit didn't look right. Now she's given up all of the text messages to Brett Favre, who's apparently text messaged Nancy, I heard Santa brought us a present, but you know, it was ambiguous, so it didn't seem like he knew where the money was coming from, but he knew money was coming and he wasn't asking any questions. Right? Will Brett Favre be charged? That's not really the point of what I'm talking about today. This is the point of what I'm talking about today. In the state of Mississippi, listen to me, you ain't gonna like this. A white man can steal $70 million and not be in the news. He can steal money from black people, from people on welfare, and not be in the news. But another man, now this is the twist. This is a twist. Listen to me. Listen to me, you're about to hit it right now. Another man is being lynched because he had a relationship with a white woman. A white woman whose husband's name is Lynch. What a coincidence. You see how I did that? His name is Lynch. The gentleman's name is Lynch. Lynch found out wifey was getting hit by the help. Mr. Lynch, his name ain't Willie though, but Mr. Lynch said, I'm gonna do an investigation. And right now, who are they lynching? They're lynching an African. They're lynching a West African Nigerian, boy. They're ringing him through the coals, baby. But they ain't talking about our good friend, Brett Favre. Brett Favre ain't under the microscope. Brett Favre didn't give a statement. Brett Favre's lawyered up. Brett Favre hasn't said a word from his agent. But we're not talking about Brett Favre, are we? We're not talking about him. We're not talking about a gentleman who potentially, I don't know the situation, but potentially, right? If you're talking about sports, because I ain't talking about sports. I talk about everything actually. But a gentleman who is supposedly, a sports legend, an icon, we're not having a conversation about him while another man is being lynched. Lynched. There has to be some balance. There has to be some balance in how we will allow the media to dispense information to us. We are not saying, this is what we're not saying about Brett Favre. We're not saying he's indefensible. This is indefensible. We're not saying, well, he must have signed a contract somewhere or another not to steal millions of dollars from welfare. We're not, you see, this is the thing that I don't like about us, our community. And the black community, I don't live in America, but I'm very much part of the black community. We have a strong black community here in Toronto. The black community does not have borders. It does not have passports. We are part of that community, that great rich community. And that's what I don't like about us in our own community. We so quickly participate in the lynching of our own. We participate. We give fuel to the fire when our own people are misappropriated, mishandled. We don't understand the power of hegemony. Look that word up. That's a good word for you. It's called hegemony. We don't understand the power of how hegemony moves the conversation from things that, yes, we might have a little smear of blame on us for doing things that might not be ethically or morally appropriate at times. Absolutely. But to throw a gentleman under the bus at the very same time that we are not talking about a man who is essentially participant in ripping off the poorest, the most vulnerable demographic in the entire country of the United States of America, because Mississippi is the poorest state. Therefore, those poor people are the poorest demographic that you have, the most vulnerable demographic that you have, and you are silent. You won't say a word. I'm talking to black people. I'm gonna get to the other individuals yet, but black people all over America should have said, we need to hold Brett Favre. I don't say his name properly because it's not my language. Somebody else gave it to me, but I'm gonna try. We need to give Brett Favre the business. We need to put him in a position where he is responsible. We need to hold him accountable. All these things that you're saying over the African man who was leading the Boston Celtics in the great state of Massachusetts to their promised land of the Larry O'Brien trophy, but you ain't saying nothing about Brett Favre, you black folk. You just focusing on individuals in your own community. And yes, you're jumping from the females, Malika Andrews, to the males, Stephen A. Smith, all of you individuals in your own community sitting being the whipping boy of an individual being lynched by Mr. Lynch and Mrs. Lynch. Mrs. Lynch, that's right, Mrs. Lynch. Mrs. Lynch, who can participate in a relationship and then say, oh, he was inappropriate with me in some way, shape, or form, and I didn't feel comfortable. Well, I'm so sorry, Mrs. Lynch. I'm so sorry. We're going to take care of that good old boy. We're going to make sure that we treat him the way he's supposed to be treated, because he ain't supposed to talk. He ain't supposed to talk to a woman of your impeccable class level in that way. It's Emmett Till all over again. Yeah, I went there. You see how I did that? You ain't gonna like it, but it's Emmett Till all over again. Was Emmett Till, was he fresh with a white woman back in the day when he went to the South? He probably was. Was he out of pocket and was he rude? He probably was. But did he deserve what he got? He didn't. And Emi, I've been saying the boy Umi. I've been saying Umi instead of Emi, but I'm not supposed to say his name because we gaslighting the boy. He's a black man who had a relationship consensually with a white woman. Should he lose millions of dollars for it? Should he be dragged all over the world for it because her husband hired a PI? That's apparently the story. Because her husband wants that Negro to be taught his place? Should the Boston Celtics, should the NBA allow it? That's what I want. And let Brett Favre just lawyer up, clam up, and we're not talking about it. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it. Drag him too. Nancy knew she's had her day in court. John Davis, I think it's John, he's going to have his day in court. Maybe even the governor, but I don't think they're going to be able to touch the governor. They ain't going to be able to touch a governor in the United States of America. They ain't going to be able to touch him. But Brett Favre, hey, give him his day in the media. Come on now. Come on, Stephen A. Come on, Max Kellerman. Come on now. Come on. Where are all you? Come on, Malika Andrews. Where's all the energy for Brett Favre? Where is it? I'm going to talk about somebody in our community because he's having a relationship with a white woman. That's not allowed. Mr. Lynch's wife. Oh no, he did the unthinkable. Oh no, he went. Oh no, he went and slept with Master's wife. Oh Lord, he went and slept with Master's wife. Oh, he in trouble. He in trouble. When you think about it like that, come on now, think about it. Lynched. And let me help you, let me help the black woman too. Because we ain't doing Neil Long any, I know I called this, SpongeBob SquarePants, I know that. I'm sorry, Miss Long. I'm sorry. They got BBLs for that. But I'm sorry I didn't say anything about that. I shouldn't have said nothing about that. Because, you were in a position where you were being victimized by the same media that I'm talking about. Right? They dragged you, and I'm so glad. You said, I have nothing to say. I want my privacy. I want to assess the situation. I got nothing to say. That was the best thing that's class right there. She did the right thing. She's not sitting there on, I don't know what the future is. She's not going on The View. I don't know if The View's still on. She's not going out there and spilling out her dirty laundry. She's not doing that. She's not going on the red table. Please don't go on that show. Please don't go on that show, Nia. Don't go on that show. She's not doing that. She's just saying, I'm going to sit back and be quiet. I'm going to sit back and chill out and take care of my child. I'm going to sit back and try to recoup my image that's being dragged and my picture that's being put up. Well, that's my time. I don't normally go past 14 minutes. I'm at 19. But I just like to let you know, there's a lynching going on. And don't be participating in it. It's Del K. Brereton. That's the Real Spiel. I'm out.